A few years ago, San Francisco passed a tax on vacant storefronts meant to penalize landlords who continue to leave their commercial spaces empty.
So the question we're asking this afternoon is, how is that going? Today we have an update on why there are still so many of these unfilled storefronts.
At ABC 7 News Building a Better Bay Area reporter Leanne Mendez was here with what's working, what's not working.
That's right. Well, let me just tell you first that San Franciscan voters voted for this tax, right? And you're going to be alarmed when I tell you this. The downtown area was not included in that tax, even though
seems like an
they
oversight.
have the most vacancies, and we're going to tell you why. Okay, so stand by. So this tax is for those commercial corridors in neighborhoods that for years had a problem filling those vacancies. We're talking about 2,700 parcels. What we found was that while it seems to be working, there are still owners and leaseholders who don't understand the law.
Leave it sitting empty and the city will tax you.
The entire idea of the tax wasn't to tax people, it was to encourage them to get realistic about their expectations of rent for small businesses.
Meaning, stop being greedy.
As Supervisor Peskin said, it's the most avoidable tax there is. You don't have to get taxed. Just rent your damn storefront.
It seems to be working in many commercial corridors. Let's take North Beach, which had a 10% vacancy rate right before the tax was passed in 2020.
It's half of that now. Same is true for neighborhood commercial districts all over the city.
The Haight-Ashbury Commercial District is another example of the effectiveness of the tax.
Our bars, Hobson's Choice, they just signed a lease there, and Club Deluxe, there's another lease that was just signed there. So almost all of our vacancies are getting filled in at this point.
This space sat empty for 8 years, but it was leased a few months ago by a children's store called Fun on Haight. The pandemic hit Haight Street hard.
At our peak, we were at 32 out of 150 were closed. Now we're below 14.
Any space vacant for more than 182 days would have to pay $250 per foot of the width of the building. So if the frontage space is 25 feet wide, multiply that by $250. The tax would then be $6,250. It doubles after the second year and so on. Here's what many don't realize. All property owners or tenants must file the tax form every year, whether the space is occupied or not. So if things are going so well, why are there still so many vacant storefronts in the downtown area? It's hard to believe now, but the law excluded downtown and Union Square.
It may be time to consider a downtown commercial vacancy tax, but at the time, 5 years ago, this was really aimed at neighborhood commercial districts at a time when downtown was thriving.
Downtown is doing worse than the neighborhood commercial corridors. But even with this tax, it takes more than just desire for a small business to occupy any space.
We are starting to see that renaissance again of new businesses.
Earl Shattuck of the Economic Development on 3rd helps small businesses understand the grants and awards that are available to them.
Right away, sir. I'll pour it in a new cup for you. Okay.
In the case of Vanessa Lee, the city waived all the permits needed to open Smoke Soul Kitchen, saving her about $2,000.
Luckily, I met some great nonprofits who really kind of pushed me and propelled me forward into starting my business and showing me how to run a business and giving me the courage and the strength to do it. And so here I am.
She opened her restaurant in the Bayview 3 months ago after the space had been empty for 3 years. The Office of Economic and Workforce Development has awarded $44,000 to 8 businesses in the Bayview to improve the property and to purchase equipment.
Our vacancy rate there is down to 8%. More work to do, but that's a very healthy vacancy rate and something we're excited about for such an important and rich and thriving neighborhood.
I'm not a billionaire. I don't have $1 million to do this. I'm just kind of a hardworking San Franciscan who wants to offer something to people in my city, and so anyone can do it if I can.
Now remember, because of the pandemic, the Office of the Treasurer paused collecting the tax until 2022, but since they've resumed it, they have collected $5 million. Now that money is going to Small Business Assistance Fund to help, again, people like her, like Vanessa Lee.
So do you think downtown will adopt something like this, given that 5 years ago they didn't need it because, you know, they had every place filled up, and now just the opposite.
Yeah, so Lara, you would think that somebody would say we need to tax, you know, these big landlords that own all these storefronts in the downtown area.
Absolutely.
But we also know that Mayor Lurie is not a fan of this tax.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens. Stand by.
Changing
There'll be an update on
administrations.
this
To
one.
be
Yes.
continued. Thank you, Leanne.
Appreciate it.